lost. There's always a hope. Rise and fight.
Welcome back to the Bombastic StarLeague Season 21, the winner bracket finals. Got Dewalt and cRoSs coming up in just a moment here, and I'm joined in the caster booth yet again by none other than Mr. Arzi the Hockey. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. And guys, if you're looking at the bracket, your eyes are not deceiving you. We are in the top 3, and there is no Ziki, and there is no Bonus, so we are going to get at least kind of an unexpected second place player at least, so
right,
pretty hyped for that actually. And the series today that we're starting off with, guys, we got Dewalt versus cRoSs in a best of 7. You know, it's always hard to say that Dewalt's not favored, right? cRoSs has been looking really good lately. Haven't seen a whole lot of his ZVP. I mean, he did kind of clown on Tech a little bit, and Tech's not exactly a pushover for a lot of people, so if cRoSs continued to be practicing and he's sharp today, he might actually give Dewalt a legitimate run for his money.
I hope so, yeah. I mean, both of these players have 3-0'd their way to get here from the quarterfinals. cRoSs 3-0ing Tech, and then Eon Zerg, and then with Dewalt 3-0ing Hawk, and then Ziki. Definitely well deserving to be here in the winner bracket finals. Yeah, everyone's probably putting their money on Dewalt, maybe a few cRoSs fans going the other way. But is it every possibility that cRoSs takes a lot of games off Dewalt no matter what happens?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, I think we talked about it just a little bit yesterday. We touched on it some, but Dewalt has had a single matchup to play this entire tournament.
Advantage, right?
Yeah, it is definitely an advantage for sure. I mean, yeah, when you only have to focus on one thing, it's definitely easier to kind of key in on things that you need to work on or improve on. But I mean, it's also, in my opinion, Dewalt's best matchup, at least from what I personally see. So yeah, cRoSs is definitely gonna have his work cut out for him, but you know, our hearts are with cRoSs, I think, generally.
Yeah. Send him your energy, guys. He's going to need a lot of help to charge a Spirit Bomb big enough to take out Dewalt. Dewalt is not only a regular finalist here in the BSL, but a regular champion as well. Would be super exciting if somehow we can create an upset here today where, you know, we got 2 PVZs in a row. That'd be really interesting to see. Even if Dewalt does end up beating Eon Zerg in the loser bracket, we still get him in the finals. It'll be really exciting, but yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because, you know, I asked Eon yesterday who he wants to win, and obviously most people would want to avoid Dewalt, but Eon is so sick of playing ZVZ that he's rooting for cRoSs because he wants to play something else.
Yeah, but then if he beats Dewalt in the loser bracket, he's got to do a best of 9 ZVZ afterwards. I mean, choose your poison, I guess.
Yeah, right. Dude, cRoSs's so funny, and maybe that's a good sign that he's feeling a little bit lighthearted. Zero asked him about turning his camera on. He says he hasn't showered in 2 weeks. That was his way to try to get out of it, but...
I'm super curious how well he's going to perform today. He's a pretty well-rounded Zerg. He can kind of do a little bit of everything, but he isn't super strong versus Protoss comparatively to his ZVZ and ZVT. I hope he can dig deep here today and show us some great games. I know he's capable of it, but it does seem a little bit daunting. I hope he's got a winning mindset going into this game with Dewalt.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of cRoSs, to be honest, over the years. Like, I've seen some of them. I've always, he's a super good player, but I don't really know exactly what I think of his ZVP yet. I guess we're going to see how it stacks up against Dewalt here, but I mean, yeah, that's tough. I mean, Dewalt, to me, when I think of Dewalt as a player, especially in PvZ, to me, he's like an iron wall, right? It feels like you can never like break through or get any damage done to him when I'm watching.
Yeah, we have to start calling him the Iron Curtain with that Russian flag or something. I mean, it's interesting because if somehow this series does go the distance, we've got Screaming C in set number 7. Can you imagine a tiebreaker on Screaming C? Maybe that would give cRoSs a little bit of hope. All he's got to do is survive until that 7th game.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. And I'm also really surprised to see cRoSs pick Litmus early, by the way. This is typically a Zerg-hated map in CVP because Protoss gets that early access to that triple gas.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's got something planned actually for that, because it's definitely a map where you can get up to some shenanigans as well.
Yeah, maybe he's got like a very specific build order in mind for that map. You can do a little bit of cheese. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what we get. We're going to be guaranteed to see that map no matter what. And we're jumping right on into it, guys. Game number 1, Dewalt versus cRoSs on Radion. Spawning here in the top right, the Iron Curtain from Russia, the red Protoss Dewalt.
And his opponent here spawning in the bottom right corner, our Canadian Zerg player, cRoSs.
Okay, close spawns on Radion. And this is good for Dewalt. There's 2 reasons why this is good, because SimCity is hard on the 3rd base, no matter which one you take, and the natural 3rd is towards Dewalt, which is not so ideal for cRoSs.
Yeah. Yeah, typically, cross map, you like that as a Zerg player, right? Because you just have a little bit more... There's going to be less pressure on you, right? And your army movement typically is going to be a lot quicker as well, so usually the longer, drawn-out kind of travel distance, whatever rush distance, does tend to favor Zerg a little bit.
Yeah. And with these spawns, also Dewalt's natural 3rd is towards cRoSs, but 2 base Protoss timings are super strong. You do not have to take a fast 3rd against a Zerg. A lot of Protoss just favor powering on 2 bases and going for a crazy strong timing, and that would be super effective against cRoSs with these spawns. It's going to be super tough for him to hold on to the 3rd.
Yeah. Okay, looks like we're starting off with an overpull. Pretty typical.
Yeah, I love overpull versus Protoss. I mean, you could go for an 11 hatch. I just think like overpull is the tried and true safest way of playing.
Yeah, we are going to get that Forge expand from Dewalt as well with that initial scout with that first probe.
Yeah.
So going to be pretty normal start so far for both players. No early aggression from Dewalt, nothing crazy from cRoSs.
So he's doubles. Go on.
Oh my god.
I was going to say he's double scouting, so I guess he's keeping the idea of he could cannon rush an 11 hatch here if he wanted to. The Forge is early enough, but he's just a Forge first kind of guy, right? He's not a big favorite of like someone like Bonif who wants to put on the pressure with lots of task switching and micro back. Ooh, blocking the Nexus. Did get the first shot off with the drone as well, so he can win the 1v1. You kind of need to hit the probe before it responds to be able to win that 1v1.
Yeah, and this is actually going to force the cannon first because we can't afford to go back and make the Nexus in time, right? So this is actually a pretty nice little win for cRoSs to prevent the 13-13 opener against his overpull. It's a very small win, but it's definitely a win for Zerg.
Yeah, it definitely disrupts things here. And he's only going to make like 4 lings to hunt down a probe and what have you. He's going to be feeling pretty happy about this. The only thing I guess he's not happy about is having to expand towards the Protoss, but you know, any damage early game makes you feel a little bit more secure. And look at how serious Dewalt is taking the possibility of a Ling run by 4 probes off the line to deflect that, really respecting the possibility of some shenanigans.
Yeah, this is actually going really well so far for cRoSs. I mean, and again, like it's not like these are gigantic leads, but getting these early game advantages in the first game here can actually do a lot to boost your confidence throughout the series.
Yeah, no, I would say so. This could definitely shift the tempo of this first game and ultimately the series as a result. And maybe making him feel a little bit more secure about this awkward placement of the third base. Let's see how Dewalt wants to play from this point onwards. He's not like an optimizer kind of guy. Like, I doubt we'll see a fast second gateway with a really quick citadel or anything like that. I imagine this is just going to be a really strong macro build from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he does tend to lean into that a lot, right? He's just so good at it. He kind of does it pretty much every game, actually. He'll make like some minor adjustments depending on the situation, of course, but yeah, typically he's a relatively standard PvZ player.
Yeah, I would say that's like his biggest strength and weakness. Like, it helps him out a lot in playing good games against foreigners, but when it comes to dealing with Koreans, like, he does get metagamed a little bit because he does have a quite narrow range of play. And to qualify for the ASL, if you are a bit too narrow in that variety, it can really hold you back.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking as I was saying that. I was like, in the foreign scene, Dewalt is like unbreakable, right? But in the Korean scene, the pro scene, right, if he tries the same thing, he just gets run over for it over and over again.
Yeah, it's the sad thing about StarCraft. There's not much way of avoiding it. I reckon he is capable of qualifying for ASL one day. Just needs a lucky qualifiers going his way and, you know, facing off against opponents that aren't familiar with his style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, got the Spire coming down here for cRoSs. So again, everything looking pretty normal. Now this probe actually gets inside, which is really good news for Dewalt. Just gets confirmation of exactly what's going on. He sees that there's no like really quick second gas, sees the Spire and everything. So this is actually really nice for the Protoss when you get, if you're allowed to get the information at this stage of the game, which you really shouldn't be allowed to be honest. We had like 8 or 10 rings out at the time, but it does so much for your flow of the game from here as the Protoss.
Yeah, it means you can really optimize and min-max your build just that little bit more than have to like hedge your bets at all. Protoss players do not want to play in the dark, and sometimes waiting for that Corsair to confirm things not only leaves a lot to be desired, but can also be too late. If this was going to be something like a Hydra bust, you might be identifying it before you even have time to warp in the additional cannons necessary. So it always makes you feel more comfortable that you can just stay on one cannon for a long time here and not have to worry about making any safety cannons that you then later cancel once the Corsair confirms there's nothing on the way.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also actually allows him to go straight for this Overlord because he doesn't need to really check for anything else, right? The only thing he might can look for is like the gas timing or something like that, but I think he kind of got a general idea with the probe scout with that second gas not being done or started or anything, right? So yeah, being able to get this Overlord first, knowing exactly how long he's got until the mutas are out, this is just nice. It's very nice for Dewalt.
Yeah, and I doubt cRoSs is going to be attempting a cross tech where he gets a quick den. This is probably just going to be a normal like 5 hatchery Hydra build after the 3 base Spire, which means there's probably not going to be anything like a pre-storm timing from this. Players like Soma are just so good at representing both techs at the same time and, you know, catching you with your pants down before the Sonic Storm is done. I doubt we'll see something like from cRoSs. It's a really hard style to execute, even if it is so strong.
Yeah, we actually saw Ziki doing a lot of that, right, in his series against both Dewalt and Bonnet. Only one Scourge here because they're blind and you can't see jack all until something's attacking them.
Yeah, like look how short the vision distance is for those things. It's crazy. They're quite literally blind units.
Yeah, it's very lore accurate since they have no eyes, right?
Yeah, right. Kind of insane, man. Yeah, he's just gonna pull enough Corsairs to finally move out. You don't really want to do that until you got enough to one-shot those Scourge. And cRoSs, yeah, he's just gonna go into 6-hatch Hydra from here, which is pretty standard. This is about as standard of a PvZ as you can have. Couple of safety Sunkens at either base. He's probably gonna make at least 5 mutas, but he could make a lot more. He's taking a 3rd gas now. If he wanted to, if he catches, like, say, some Corsairs with some Scourge, he could go into 10 muta plus from then on, but I imagine he'll initially just make the 5.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's going into Muta this late. I think he misjudged how many Corsair Dewalt had. He might have thought it was just the 3 Corsair, but it's actually going to be 5 for Dewalt, so... he's gonna get the bad news here that there's actually a lot of extra Corsair, and yeah, the Scourge are gonna go down.
Yeah. There's not a lot here at this third base as well. He needs like a really good drone drill to be safe against this. He does get a pretty nice drone drill, has some links to buffer. Now some Mutalisks and Scourge, seeing if they can poke in and help out, but without that many Scourge, he can't really do anything. A lot of drones going down during all of this. He's not going to break the Sunken, but here comes a DT. There's no more Overlord anymore, so this DT can do a lot of work. Unless he's got an Overlord that's about to pop out of that egg. cRoSs in a little bit of trouble now.
Yeah, it was a pretty good defense up to this point, and honestly doesn't lose too many to the DT there. He's actually going to clear all the Corsairs. This is actually really good for cRoSs, I think, overall. He took some drone damage, but being able to clear all this army and reset the Corsair count is kind of a big deal.
Well, if he wants to lean more heavily into mutas now, that would be fine. He just needs a little bit of extra gas. Like, not mining gas at this third hurts him a lot, but he actually has a lot of minerals. So he doesn't really need to mine minerals at this third base. Just get a few drones back onto gas, and if he wanted to, you know, he could make a lot more mutas, a few more Scourge, and then go for a bit of an Ogre Zerg gamer move and try and punish the fact that Dewalt has very little anti-air right now.
Yeah, Dewalt actually going back into Corsair, which is... It hurts quite a bit to have to do this because it's into your Templar count, right? So if he's going to do this with a Corsair, he absolutely cannot afford to lose any more Corsair again after this. Like, you can lose a couple, of course, but you can't really concede air control if you're going into a second round of Corsair.
Right. He has +1 flyer carapace as well, which is going to help out a lot in the air. I don't think he's going to commit to a lot of Mutalisks, but it does make Dewalt feel a lot less safe in this game. He did a lot of damage to the eco of cRoSs, but now that he's having to replenish that Corsair count, that means less Dragoons, less Templars. He does get the DT into the main base. Luckily, there's an Overlord here to shut that down. So yeah, so far this is actually a pretty okay game state for cRoSs.
This is going pretty well for cRoSs, I think, overall. He focused really hard on drones after deflecting that push as well, which I think is really nice. And he's pretty much ready to just go pure army at this point with a nice Muta ball. Yeah, what is that, like 6-7 Mutas? Yeah.
You're not enough to one-shot the Templar, but okay, now he's adding more. Now he's getting up to 9. He's almost in the range of one-shotting these high Templars, especially if there's not going to be an armor upgrade for a while. So yeah, he could maybe come into the natural if there's not a cannon, or finally that armor upgrade kicked in, so it'd be a little bit harder to... Ooh, preemptive storm from Dewalt. That was actually really good. Look how damaged the mutas are now.
That was a sneaky storm, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was incredibly effective, like surprisingly effective, how much damage you got done to those mutas there.
Yeah, he had a Templar with almost max energy that would have been better to use for the Storm, but it doesn't matter. The fact that he got a good that level of Storm off is a huge boon now. It's going to be almost impossible to come in here and snipe any of these high Templars, especially with the +1 armor. You can't one-shot them. So, I mean, yeah, this is problematic for cRoSs. He really does want to get in from behind and snipe some of these Templars. He's going to try and dive bomb now. Good preemptive storms, though. Might just barely lose. Okay, doesn't even lose a single Templar and kills every single Muta. This is insanely good for Dewalt now. Has quite a lot of Dragoons, not as many as he would like, but more than enough to put the pressure onto cRoSs and start skirmishing with him and making him feel a little bit extra threatened. And Dewalt's going to eventually set up to take a third base behind this.
Yeah, this is going super well for Dewalt now. He's going to be able to lean on the cRoSs here, right? And cRoSs has to respect this, like you said. He's going to basically just kind of wander around here with his army and kind of look for trading energy off and just killing units as he expands and goes to this third base. And obviously, if you get a moment where you're just taking like amazing trades, you still have Storm left over, you can push for the kill, and we're actually going to get a big fight right here, right now.
Ooh, yeah, it's a better concave for cRoSs to work with, but there's just too many Templars to fully trade efficiently against this. Even though there's not that many Dragoons, it should be enough to win this engagement. It's going to start to encroach on the natural expansion, but I mean, Dewalt doesn't have to commit to an attack, but he's traded so well, he might be thinking about it. There is 3 Sunkens back here in the natural, so cRoSs has a chance of defending this if he can maybe body block a little bit better and stop these Zealots getting surface area. But it seems like Dewalt's having no trouble at all getting on top of these Sunkens. It does look like he's about to break and kill cRoSs now.
Yeah, Dewalt not missing a beat on the macro cycles, right? During the constant finding his money staying spin, we're seeing the constant rally of units, and GG gonna be called. Dewalt gonna start this series off with a pretty clean 1-0. I mean, the early game was, I feel like, going pretty well for Crossing, and I liked a lot of what he was doing. But again, it's like as soon as you lean on Dewalt at all, right? He like try to poke in for a little bit of a, you know, maybe get some snipes or something here or there, and it's just he takes no damage, man. He just never does.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you got 9 mutas and they don't do anything, you're really far behind. Like, if he snipes just 1 or 2 High Templars with those, the game looks totally different. The fact that he lost all of his mutas and didn't have anything to show for it, I think is what really hurt cRoSs there. And he's just got nothing but Hydras to defend. He would have been better off just not going mutas and going straight into lurkers. But if you are going to go into Hydra muta, you have to get compensation with it, and he wasn't able to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough. I mean, it's kind of what we expect from Dewalt. I don't know. It's one of those things where I look at it and it's like cRoSs didn't do very many things wrong from what I could tell. Like maybe a little bit of a hiccup on the defense, but I still felt like overall the defense went well. Like getting to clear all the Corsair and everything, right? Yeah, but like you said, you commit to the mutas and then you don't get those Templar snipes. You kind of just kill over a lot of times in this matchup.
Yeah, like what should have happened is a couple of High Templars die, and then Dewalt is relegated to just skirmishing and no chance of actually breaking cRoSs. But unfortunately, cRoSs was forced to fight him head on and couldn't keep up with that many storms. It is what it is. It's just a a bad game number 1 here that didn't quite go cRoSs' way. He's still capable of turning it around. Really curious why he picked Litmus, like you were saying earlier. Maybe he's got something specially planned from this map, like some kind of like lurker drill on the back mineral patch leading into the base. Maybe he's got a little bit of a spicy cheese prepared here for Dewalt to catch him off guard. We'll have to wait and see. But that's going to be our next map coming up.
Yeah, so there's actually something that I was watching Ranged streaming in Discord one day, right? Range is a kind of like low-ish S-rank Protoss. And he was playing a PvZ, and the Zerg went for like an early game Hydra bust. And I kind of realized one of the issues is being able to cannon everywhere you need to cannon while trying to stop the 973, right? Because it's like you commit to the cannons at the front, but you also have to worry about a potential backstab from behind. And if you make a few extra cannons on the backside, but then they just bust you from the front, you're a little bit weaker than normal, and it actually seemed incredibly difficult to hold.
Yeah, I would say so. And even if you do go for lurkers, there's this little spot you can actually hit the worker line from back there as well. But we'll see what happens. Game number 2 now, Litmus. Spawning here in the top right, representing Canada. Currently 1 game down, cRoSs.
And his opponent here in the bottom right, representing Russia, currently up 1-0. We have Dewalt. See if he can keep it going.
Yeah, he did look really solid that last game. And the fact that he was that successful with that push, and it wasn't even like a semi all-in or an all-in or anything. This was just like a skirmish play that turned into ramming it down and getting the win. He had an insurance policy behind that, a Nexus already built at the 3rd base, just in case he couldn't find a win condition right then and there. Pretty impressive stuff overall.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That can make it almost kind of discouraging when, you're playing against someone where they're just playing like a normal build and you just kind of die somewhere along the lines against something that's like stock standard, right? Like, it can be a little bit discouraging because, like you said, it's not like Dewalt was all in. He wasn't committing to something big. He was just playing like a normal game and growing at a normal rate, and then also killed cRoSs, like as a side note.
Yeah, it was a pressure play that exploded cRoSs' head, unfortunately. You could just say, he got a bit unlucky with the mutas or something. But yeah, it did kind of seem like Dewalt was just leaning on him and he got eviscerated. A little bit worried for his hopes going forward, but who knows? Maybe that was just early game jitters, maybe not quite feeling comfortable at the moment. A lot of these guys get super nervous in a tournament setting unless they're playing every other tournament. So yeah, maybe he can shake off some of those nerves and give us some good games from this point onwards. Is that going to be Nexus first from Dewalt, or is he going to do a late forge?
Looks like 12 Nexus. Yeah? Okay.
No, okay. Just a late forge.
I was going to say, scouting an overpull and going 12 Nexus would be the most like psychotic thing I've ever seen before, but I was like, maybe he's seen something or knows something that I don't know.
Yeah, the rush distances aren't super long on this map, so I'd be a little bit surprised by it too. I mean, I guess you're okay as long as the Zerg doesn't make like 6 links right off the bat, but cRoSs's getting really quick gas. This is going to be maybe a very fast lair build from him. I can't imagine he's only going to mine speed and take speed and then stop mining gas. This makes me feel like he might be taking lair as well as speed, or if not only lair.
Yeah, definitely indicates that he might be up to something, right? Maybe something with this kind of behind the behind the mineral line there.
I'm wondering,
that
yeah.
pathway.
I thought that's why he picked Litmus, because he's got like a very specific cheese in mind for this map. Okay, he is taking link speed first, so he's going to use that link speed to deny scouting on what the follow-up will be. So Dewalt won't know, is this going to be 2-hatch Lurker, 2-hatch Spire? He won't know for sure until his Corsair is out.
Yeah. He left 1 on gas, right? So there is something else on the horizon here besides some sort of Ling all-in, so... Yeah, like you said, it could just be for kind of scout denial right now. 6 lings for scout denial is a little bit... Okay, well, we got more extra lings coming here, so...
Okay, and Dewalt's making that safety cannon. He knows that he can't be super safe without it. Like, you kind of have to make that second cannon, or you could just die to a straight-up ling flood here.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and preemptively pull the probes here, because he doesn't know how many extra lings are being made, right? He saw 6 lings, so you do need that second cannon at least. And yeah, he doesn't know what else is coming. He can kind of surmise that it's ling speed because he saw him pull off the gas and the other hatchery wasn't done yet, so it couldn't really have been a lair. So he knows that it's ling speed.
Yeah, and he's checking the back mineral with a probe as well, just in case there was any other shenanigans, attacking his own buildings with the probes to get them a forced hold position with that. And looks like cRoSs thinking about hopping over some lings on the back line here. So... Oh, messing it up is a little bit tricky to get this right. Yeah, it's not easy to get lings over. It's actually one of the hardest things to glitch over the minerals is lings.
He's kind of doing it from a weird angle.
In
fact, the way he's trying to go about it. Yeah, that's typically where you want to do the jump, right? But I think he's worried about taking damage from the probe in the process, so that's why he's trying to do it from the top. But
yeah,
it's extremely hard to hop over the top side of those minerals.
Yeah, absolutely. It does seem like this is a little bit of a mind game from cRoSs. He's kind of representing 2 hatchery tech, but he's actually going into 3-hatch Hydra. So I'm curious about the timings of this, because he's not optimized for it, right? Go on.
Lost that Overlord, man.
Yeah, it was super close. That would be almost game ending, by the way, if he lost that.
I wouldn't, if it died and he GG'd, I would not have held it against him.
It would be a pretty upsetting way to give a 2-0 lead to Dewalt. I want to see him have more of a fight in him than that, but yeah, it would be a little bit understandable. Honestly, it completely cripples you as a Zerg at this point in the game.
Yeah, so we are getting that Hydra pressure, looks like, from cRoSs. We'll see how he wants to go about it.
Yeah, but it's not great. Like, the mineral mining at the third is not ideal. Like, there's not many patches that are actually optimal at that third base that he's taken. So the fact that most of his drone saturation is up here and not at the natural means it's going to take a lot of the wind out of the sails, I think, of this 973, especially because of how delayed the hatchery has been in the natural, right? Yeah. I guess he's trying to catch Dewalt off guard with the timing of it, but I still think it will be a little bit behind curve to do a lot of damage here.
I would love to have seen the lings just chipping away at these buildings on the backside, just to threaten it, right? Because if you're doing that, Dewalt has to respect the possibility of the Hydras coming in the backside. So even if you don't use it, you do force some sort of reaction out of Dewalt. So I think it's a little bit of a missed opportunity not showing that he's killing those buildings.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure how many stasis cells are stacked there. I don't know how many.
I'm not sure how many, but if this many lings were working on it, even if you don't like fully kill it, right, just showing it to him, he has to do something about it.
Yeah, you know, try and get the wall at least. He's probably not going to kill Dewalt with this, but you know, killing the forge, it's a bit of a consolation prize, denying that +1, and it's just not terrible. Let's see if he can drone up heavily behind it, or if he's gonna commit into making nothing but Hydras. He has got an Overlord nearby, which is coming to assist in case there was something like a DT defensive play here from Dewalt, and Dewalt's taking this super serious. He's scouting now with his Corsair and has identified that he might have to make a lot of cannons to hold this, because he doesn't see that many drones.
He should cancel a couple, I would think, because yeah, he's gonna cancel one. Okay, just one. Because yeah, he saw drones coming out with that Corsair at least, But yeah, he still wants to be extra safe here. So that's actually a pretty big reaction from Dewalt so far. I think this is pretty good for cRoSs overall. Like, he did a lot of droning behind that while Dewalt made that many cannons. And he got to kill the +1, he kills the extra gateway. And it was overall like kind of a low commitment from cRoSs. The problem is the tech pacing from Dewalt is still like really strong behind this.
Yeah, I guess one spicy thing cRoSs could have done, you know, he could have like sent like 6 or so drones to mine out the mineral patch next to the stasis cell. The problem with that is you can just make a DT to defend the main base, and the Corsair is probably going to deny the Overlord ever getting into that position unless you somehow hide it there ahead of time. So yeah, I don't think cRoSs really has many options besides threatening this bust, and he's going to try and play a bit of a macro game to follow out of it. But I feel like this isn't going to be super strong, although he is getting Evo Chambers out early. Maybe he can gradually catch up in this game the longer it goes on.
Yeah, he's just going to try to play a normal macro game, but again, we might see some of why Zerg players don't like this map PvZ, right, or ZVP, because he's got access to 3 gas so early.
Yeah,
Dewalt can commit very heavily to just goon Storm off of 2 base, when normally you need 3 gases to go pretty heavy into it, and layered tech against goon Storm is not ideal, we'll say.
Right, and on top of that, he hasn't been required to make that many Corsairs as well, right? Like, he doesn't see Aspire. There's no threat of any mutas or anything. He's got even more gas than usual that he can, you know, delegate into those goons and Templar. Going to be sending out a DT now. This is not just for harassment, but can be a good scouting option as well, especially in lieu of a Corsair. But this Overlord being here does stop that from being able to come out.
Yeah, he did get... Was that one Templar went down? I didn't quite see.
He killed the Dark Templar.
Okay, it was a GT. Okay. Okay, well, something, I guess. I mean, it looks like we're setting up to take a 4th base pretty soon here for cRoSs. Dewalt is going to sniff that out. Sees the drone over there at least. Isn't going to see the hatchery get started, but he knows it's probably coming down when you see the drone sitting there.
You can send one single Dragoon back here to stop the Hydra killing that pilot. That's kind of cute. I like that. It's the little things in life, Ozzy. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, like these little games like this, right? Where it's you send 1 or 2 units down here to do something, you force a reaction from your opponent, and it just kind of... Little things like that can throw you off beat. I love the Dark Archon. When you're skipping Corsair, Dark Archon is just kind of typically, it's just nowadays considered correct, right, to do.
It's a good safety net. It's definitely a good safety net, and it's still good against non-muta, right? You can still maelstrom lurkers before they burrow, or a pack of hydras to storm combo them down. He'll still find value with that Dark Archon, even if there's never a single mutalisk made. So yeah, I definitely like that. We got cRoSs going for a quick 4th base. I imagine he's going to play wide this game. I think it's going to be a relatively late hive. He's just going to try and make a lot of stuff and go battle Zerg mode with a lot of lurker hydra.
Yeah, and Protoss, from what I've seen of cRoSs, he kind of leans into the style a lot. He does like this kind of battle styles. He's very kind of tempo-oriented Zerg himself, which a lot of Zerg players are ZVP, because by default you kind of have tempo in the early game, so a lot of the Zerg players just lean into that a bit more.
Right.
And yeah, from what I've seen of cRoSs, it's a lot of Hydra Lurker. Not very often have I personally seen him get into Hive Tech with Defilers and things like that, but very much, like you said, a battle Zerg style.
Yeah, the only thing that I think is rough on this map, especially, the Protoss do not have too much of a hard time getting a 4th base, and a lot of times Zerg are like playing the win condition, well, I'll just never let you take a 4th base, and then that's when this battle Zerg mode shines, because you can keep driving a wedge between the Protoss and them ever trying to get that 4th online. It's not that far for Dewalt to get over and take these additional bases once he's established some map control. We got some lurkers though on the periphery of this choke point. Dewalt snipes one of them now, storms the second, and if cRoSs splits up his hydras and storm dodges well, he could fight this army. He actually doubles down on a storm, a little bit of a wasted energy there from Dewalt. If cRoSs had just a little bit more hydras, he could probably overwhelm this and not allow him to push out, but he doesn't quite yet have the forces to do so.
Yeah, he tried to dive on top of that observer, but Dewalt perfectly pulled it out of range, right? It got a
Going for a
little bit
doom
low,
drop.
but
It looked like he
I
was about to
doubt it,
load up
right?
his overlords. Oh my god,
Oh,
he is.
he is.
The way he was positioning his overlords, I was like, is he going to drop him right now? And he actually is. I don't know about this. Like, doom drops, generally speaking, as Zerg aren't great. I think he's doing a low committal. It's just going to be like 4 or so overlords worth of units into the main base. Oh, he kills the observers. That's a nice start to this. This is going to sandbag Dewalt from coming out to do anything. But it looks like cRoSs wants to see if he can come into the main base and get some work done with these overlords. But it's a bit counterproductive because he's just stopped Dewalt from coming out, which means it's going to be easier for him to rotate into the main to defend.
Yeah, he's gonna get a couple lurkers dropped off here. Oh, there, and there's the maelstrom, right? Stopping the lurkers from getting broke. Gonna be able to kill them before they get underground. And yeah, this drop really gonna be a bit of a donation. Truthfully, at the end of the day, gonna kill almost a cannon, losing 3 overlords, losing all the army, and has nothing to show for it.
You can see why Zergs don't drop very often. That would have only really worked if Dewalt was already pushing across the map and couldn't just rotate into his main. That's why it's a bit of a shame, because he kind of like helped Dewalt defend that by killing the observers. He probably should have held off from going into the main for another like half a minute or so and waited for Dewalt to produce another observer and start to come out and then go for the drop in the main. Might have worked a lot better for him, but seems like Dewalt keen on running it down right now. This is pretty strong 13-minute timing from him on 2 bases. He has plenty of Psionic Storm and a lot of healthy count of Dragoons to shove it down on these lurkers, and a couple of lurkers are stacked up as well, providing pretty valuable trade opportunities for Dewalt. He's got like a control group and a half of Dragoons or so remaining. That should make short work of most of this defensive line of cRoSs. It doesn't seem like cRoSs's trading good enough here.
Yeah, he kind of, got a lurker drop here on the backside. Gonna at least kill a few probes and stop the mining there, but gonna try and dive on top of this observer. Not quite gonna get it, unfortunately, 1 HP, but you kind of see what I was talking about, right, with the army composition. It's the first push out, and it's just pure Goon Storm, right, with like 6 or 7 Templar. It's so strong on this map, man.
Yeah, it's a shame. Oh, the High Templars are stranded and get taken out. That's something as well. I really do like the touch of going for a bit of a lurker drop action. Those are definitely the kind of drops you want in ZVP, where it's just 1 overlord, 2 lurkers at any base, and they can do a lot of damage that way, especially when the Protoss is distracted. cRoSs didn't do too badly with that, but he did get most of his army stormed into oblivion just a few moments ago, so he hasn't really got a critical mass to keep fighting with Dewalt for the time being, and Dewalt is going to rotate over to take this natural third in just a second here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not looking that bad for cRoSs right now. Like, it's less than ideal, sure, but his upgrades are pretty decent. He's taking a 5th base, and Dewalt's about to mine out on both his main and natural, so Dewalt's kind of looking at that double expand timing. And the game's going to continue on. There's going to be another big push here, but cRoSs has a lot of units.
Yeah, it's still lair tech units, but that's okay. As long as you can get a good concave, a good flank setup, you can still overwhelm the Protoss. And you're absolutely right. Now he might have a win condition of just trading reasonably well with Dewalt, baiting out storms, and then playing the deny the 4th game. Because if the Protoss is only on 1 mining base for a significant portion of the game, as soon as this 5th base gets saturated for cRoSs, he's then got a very winnable game state, and he's sniping High Templars. He's doing kind of what he needs to do to come back in this game. There's definitely an opportunity here.
Yeah, it is +2 armor on these Protoss units, right? So the few lings that we see coming out with that +0, gonna be doing what, 2 damage per shot, I think. So the lings are a little bit of a buffer here. Just a little bit worried about. Oh, we're gonna catch the probe transfer actually, so that's kind of nice. I mean, we're about to be mined out on 2 bases, so it's going to have a lot of excess probes right now. But this is potential long-term damage.
Yeah, it does seem like Dewalt's got enough to run it down on this natural 3rd location, the 5th base of cRoSs. Let's see if cRoSs can find a way of challenging this. He has got a lot of forces, but he doesn't really want to donate them into this choke point. Like 1 or 2 good storms can spell disaster, but there's no storms here for the time being. Just 1 single Templar with not enough energy, so maybe cRoSs can at least get some good trades off of this army. The hatchery's going to go down no matter what, but maybe he can punish. But Dewalt seems to have a train of High Templars reaching the front line to maintain this skirmish, and the Dragoons are in high enough number that they're doing a great job on their own.
Yeah, he just has so many Dragoons, he's actually able to fight the Hydra straight up and win that fight. So yeah, with that 5th base going down, it's starting to look a little bit rough here for cRoSs. Like you said, we still are only on that layer tech, right? We're not doing anything to work towards high tech. Dewalt is going to be mined down on those two main geysers at this point, so he doesn't have like insane gas income anymore. It's pretty much going to be 1 gas mining soon, like 1.5.
Yeah,
So we're in this weird. Slow it down.
We're in this weird situation where expanding to the 3 o'clock is actually viable for Protoss because he can keep everything on the right-hand side of the map and maintain a forward position to defend at all times. Like, rarely you would want to expand to that 3 o'clock base as Protoss. This might be the one time where it's actually a viable option for Dewalt to do that. Rather than going wide and taking one of these bases in the bottom left pocket, that would force him to spread himself a little bit too thinly. If he wants to remain aggressive, maybe taking that base on the right is the answer.
Yeah, decent fight here for cRoSs. He just doesn't quite have the numbers, right? The reinforcements are going to come in for Dewalt. There's the Maelstrom Storm combo on top of the Hydra, so a lot of the Hydra is going to go down. And with these reinforcing goons and Templars coming in here, he's going to push this army back. cRoSs dipping pretty low in supply compared to Protoss, but Dewalt is on 1 base mining right now.
Yeah, if somehow cRoSs can find some good trades, eventually he could claw his way back into this game. It's just that every time he gets just one control group of units, it's getting stormed into oblivion. He's never going to get a critical mass to fight Dewalt, and Dewalt is getting closer and closer to the macro hatcheries of cRoSs, and the Dragoons end up acting like siege tanks, taking out all of those hatcheries so quickly. I think cRoSs's in a lot of trouble now. I think he's gone to the point where he can't muster enough forces to keep Dewalt at bay. Even though he's only on 1 base mining, it's more than enough. And GG is called with a quick, convincing 2-0 lead for Dewalt.
Yeah, GG. Man, Dewalt, whenever Dewalt starts winning a fight, it's funny because typically when I watch PvZs, a lot of times you kind of typically advise the Protoss player to not overcommit, right? Where it's like, okay, you won the fight, like back up, kind of regroup and chill a little bit because the reinforcements can kill you running low on storms. But Dewalt does such a good job of constant storm reinforcement with the rallies of units as well that it's like once he starts winning a fight, it just never stops.
Yeah. It reminds me of Best a little bit, you know. I would say Bonif is like the Polish Snow, and Dewalt is like the Polish Best in terms of their style and approach to the game and what makes them strong players. The macro cycles of Dewalt are absolutely insane. He's always got units streaming to the front.
Yeah, it's relentless to say the least. Yeah, I mean, I feel again like cRoSs. I didn't hate a lot of the early game format. I feel like these early games are actually going relatively well for cRoSs overall. But it just doesn't matter. Like I said, mentioned a few times now, Dewalt's a bit of a fortress, so can't seem to do anything with these advantages.
Protoss' win percentage, as you know, are highest in that mid game, and that's every single time where Dewalt is shining. Unless you can get a pretty big lead, he's gonna probably crush you, and that's what cRoSs is having to deal with right now. Like, another Protoss maybe isn't that strong in their macro. He's not going to be able to just ram it down so efficiently like that. It wasn't like he had loads of units. Like, he was trading just barely efficiently enough that he could keep, you know, inching his way towards the rally point of cRoSs. If he trades even just a little bit worse, if his macro is just a little bit off, then he doesn't break through like that. And maybe cRoSs not quite used to that caliber of Protoss at that timing.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it is what it is, I guess. I mean, there's like a few things I could maybe point out that didn't go so well for cRoSs, like the drop and stuff, right? Was definitely just kind of a straight up donation. Like you said, he stopped Dewalt's push out, forced him back into his base, and then did this drop. So Dewalt's like, okay, well, I'm already here, so
yeah,
I guess I'll stop that real quick.
That was very counterproductive. I feel like he should have held off from the drop in the main if he is going to go for it until Dewalt's actually moving out again. But it is what it is. Maybe he can do better this time around. The problem is that cRoSs has to do better in this mid game to exploit this next map. We've got Metropolis coming up next here. Game number 3, Dewalt versus cRoSs. Let's get it on. Spawning here in the top left, 2 games down. Can he turn it around? Representing Canada, cRoSs.
And his opponent here in the bottom left, our red Protoss player, Dewalt. Unbreakable thus far.
Yeah, he looks super solid, man. This is a good map for Zerg, but it requires finesse to make it a good map for Zerg. You've got these massive boot-shaped main bases, so you might be thinking, oh, why doesn't he just do the drop tech on this map? Drop tech, generally speaking, just not good for Zerg, unless it's just that little like lurker dropping where you're like trying to kill the mineral line while distracting him. Actually, I'm a big fan of that. I would like cRoSs to do more of that and less of the Doom dropping into the main. But on this map, super hard to take a 4th base, as Protoss especially. So that could be a good win condition for cRoSs, but he's going to have to do a much better job of fighting with that battle Zerg style to get into that position.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. This is a good battle style Zerg map for preventing that 4th, because I mean, look at the layout, right? He has his naturally a 6 o'clock for his 3rd, and then where do you go for your 4th, right? Like you have to go all the way to the bottom right corner. It's kind of far away, so it's a bit uncomfortable.
You either have to ninja it when the Zerg's not scouting properly, or you have to have total map control, in which case you're winning the game already, right? And yeah, so there's definitely a possibility for cRoSs to dominate Dewalt in this game if he can establish that map control with the battle Zerg, but he did struggle a little bit last game. I guess we could also chalk that up to an awkward opening from cRoSs. He did that very interesting style of a quick gas into speed, into a delayed 3rd base. Nothing was like super optimally timed out there. Maybe he can have a stronger showing with a bit more of an orthodox approach to a similar style. And he's done a 9-pool gas trick here this game, am I
right? Sure. Yeah. I wasn't looking, but if you say so, I believe it.
Yeah, it seems so. Well, if he makes these cannons right as the lings are popping out of the eggs, it'll be okay. The drone here could actually body block and make these cannons harder to go down, but he doesn't quite get into position to do that. It's a bit of a shame. And there's also 2 probes here to bully back this drone, so there's no hope of like getting a bit of chip damage on those cannons to help out. A little bit of a slowdown as well with the probe, stopping these backfall lings from getting to the front too quickly. So I don't think a run by is super possible anymore. I think the first 2 lings I think can get in, but I don't think the back 4 can.
But he might try to sneak through the top actually, because these cannons are very low. He actually might just try to go straight through the top here in a straight line.
Maybe, yeah. Let's see. Okay. It's not terrible. I mean, he can't get into the main, but he can sit here and camp the mineral, right? Like we saw this happen in the ASL a lot, where you don't go into the main, you just stay down here in the natural and deny mining, and it's actually super annoying for the Protoss.
Yeah, because there's not going to be a zealot for an eternity. He's actually just going to try to fight the link straight up with the probes. One lane going to go down, actually, but 1 probe for it, actually, so that's good for cRoSs. But, I mean, cRoSs needs a little bit... Well, I don't know, actually. He forced the double cannon right before Nexus and Gate, and we get to pull off a few probes and kill a probe, so this is actually a little better than it usually goes for Zerg.
Yeah, I would say there's enough compensation here for it to be even, and if he can deny mining in the natural and maybe kill 1 more probe, he's actually slightly ahead. But this isn't terrible. This is okay.
Yeah, and cRoSs is quick. Like, one of the things that, when I think of cRoSs and what he's specifically very good at, especially in this matchup, is his link control. He, against a lot of lesser players, it's just guaranteed the lings are going to be in your base, and they're going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with. Like, he's just so good at this.
He's quite a fast player, generally speaking. Like, he's not as aggressive as someone like Eon Zerg or Ziki, but his control is there. His multitasking ability is definitely on point.
Yeah, he's super Korean.
He's got that dual citizenship privilege, I guess, right? It runs through his veins, helping him out even across the pond. Being very annoying in the natural expansion. Maybe you can hunt down this probe in the back line. Dewalt wisely pulling that back preemptively. Zerg going to have to play a game of footsies with these Zerglings behind the mineral line. It's harder to snipe the probes on the right because the cannon kind of covers there a little bit, but you can keep rotating back around the left to come back in.
And look how fast cRoSs is, by the way. Like, he's 400 APM. It looks like he's never looking away from these lings, but I promise you, he's not missing much of a beat at home at the same time either.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he's making the units, that's the main thing. Like, it's okay if the drone's not like mining right away, as long as you actually spend the lava to make the drone right off the bat. And yeah, he seems to be doing a pretty good job at that. And honestly, he has slowed. This is a little bit of a mistake set having this drone out here, so it's a shame. But overall, this hasn't gone terribly for him. He's denied quite a lot of mining, denying the scout now from the drone as well. He has no idea about what's actually going on cRoSs's side of the map until these two Zealots can get out there, and they actually might get surrounded by the Lings by the time they can get across the map. I don't think he wants to commit with these. It's wise to pull them back.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of a kind of a fake move out, right? Where that's the hey, make some more Lings move out.
Yeah. I think he's going to have to rely purely on the Corsair for scouting. I guess he could move out with 3, but it's too risky. I think it's better just to wait till like 5 or so and have your Corsair do the heavy lifting right now.
Yeah. It's like cRoSs did make 2 more pair of Lings there, so it's going to go up to 10 Lings total. Of course, they're going to come out here, come across the map first. This is the pathing that you take with your Corsair because you want to see if Hydras are coming, because this is about that timing, right? A lot of times when you're at the stages, your Corsair comes out, you like start a couple, or you start one additional cannon a lot of times, and then you cancel it when you don't see the Hydras coming.
So he's kind of double dipping, right? Like not only is he killing an Overlord, but he's checking for that Hydra. So he's probably feeling pretty good about this, and sees there's nothing coming. The Spire is done, so he probably actually might get the second Corsair killed if it goes to a full-on base committal. The Scourge should be popping out in just a few seconds, and if he makes the Scourge in the natural hatchery, he can catch the Corsair as it starts to fly away. Seems like the Spire timing ever so slightly off though, so Dewalt doesn't have to worry about that. I guess he's slowing down a little bit because of the 9 pool.
Yeah, there's the canceled cannon they were talking about. It's actually Muta's, not Scourge.
Oh, that's why it didn't pop out. Yeah, okay, interesting. And this can work. I mean, 3 Corsairs does beat 5 Muta, but you can still like snipe probes while ignoring the Corsairs. But there's only 4 here right now, so we can't one-shot the probes.
Yeah, 5th Muta shows up now.
He's fighting?
Kind
Okay.
of fights the Corsair as the cannon finishes. 4th Corsair joins. I guess Dewalt may be a little bit too scared to follow because you don't know if there's Scourge behind it or not as well, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a bait, right? Like, he could be baiting you, like, chase me, and really there's, like, a pair of Scourge about to smash into your face. It's better to just camp the cannon. It's better just to camp the cannon until you have your +1 and at least 5 Corsairs, maybe even 6.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like in TVZ where when you're planning on link flooding a Terran and you kind of float that Overlord out in front of them. And it's just kind of a magnet to make the brains come out and be like, oh no, you're catching my Overlord.
I used to do that back in the day. You like do like a Ling flood and you'd like fly the Overlord into the Terran's natural and he like runs out of the Sim City to kill the Overlord, then the Lings just dive on top of everything before the medics pop out. Super hilarious.
Was that 2 Corsair that went down or just 1?
I think 2. 2 to do.
Yeah, I think it was 2. That's actually a
Pretty
really
big
big
deal.
catch. Yeah.
Yeah. If he denies this Zealot scout, that'd be pretty huge because he can't scout with the Corsairs after losing 2. So he really does need some information with this Zealot. I guess he gets a little bit of information. You know, he sees the macro hatchery, he sees the count of Hydras there. It kind of gives him a read into the situation. Like, he knows it's probably not going to be like an Ogre Zerg now, right? It gives him some intel.
It's that 5-hatch Hydra, which is something that took me a very long time to understand how to play against, because you actually have to make more cannons than you feel like you should have to against this.
Wow, he's actually just diving in with the Muta. This is super crazy. Like, they weren't even really shooting for a while as well. He might kill the High Temple, he barely doesn't. He's kind of just feeding into Dewalt here a little bit. Definitely a bit of a misplay, I would say, from cRoSs. Getting a little bit too antsy and trying to get on top of those High Templars, but didn't really work out for him.
Yeah, a little bit of desperation there from cRoSs, actually trying to jump on top of those Templar and not getting them. And now one of the annoying things you have to deal with when you're playing 5-hatch Hydra is these Corsair coming across the map, and he's not looking because he's dealing with those Corsair. It's a big storm, loses a lot of the Hydra.
Yeah, this isn't optimal. I mean, he did kill those Corsairs initially, which was great, but now he's bled off so many units that he doesn't really have a lead anymore. Killing this gateway would be nice. He hasn't quite finished the gateway off even yet. Would be a good idea to get that. At least slows down the production of the Protoss. Oh, he's eating so much damage. That's the second storm he hasn't really dodged.
Yeah, he's just having a hard time keeping up the multitasking, actually, of Dewalt here. Trying to deal with these Corsair, losing a bunch of Overlords on one side, and then every time he looks away, it's like he gets stormed. He does finally finish off that gateway, but gonna eat another kind of retreating storm there. Only 100 gonna go down, but we've lost a lot of Overlords in the meantime. We finally killed one of the Corsair. They're surprisingly tanky. Oh, okay, no, we killed 2 of them. Okay.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Killed quite a few Corsairs here, but Unless he does a big muta switch, I don't know if that's going to come into play very much. He does have 3 gas, but he's not mining the natural gas. I would be curious if he decides to suddenly make like a round of like 10 mutas all at once and tries to overwhelm Dewalt that way, now that he's sniped quite a lot of the cRoSs. There is an Archon for safety here to act as point defense in case something like that was to occur. But yeah, cRoSs in a lot of trouble, man. He's continuously getting supply blocked over and over again.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I think separates a lot of the good Protoss players from the others, right? Is even when you're against Hydra builds, just the activity and the value that they always get with Corsair and the amount that they make Zerg pay attention and focus on. We are going to get those mutas coming out, but Dewalt, he actually made more Corsair as well as this Archon, right? So these Templars still aren't super exposed. Actually, he's not even walking out with any Templar, is he? Okay, he's got 1.
I guess he doesn't need a lot. He's already done a lot of damage to cRoSs indirectly. cRoSs kind of bled into him quite severely, so he hasn't got like a critical mass of Hydras to bat this back. He has got some Sunkens on the way, but they're not quite finished up yet. He might be able to get a lot of damage at this 3rd base location just before those Sunkens finish up. I think he might be able to still hold this, but you can't really drone drill these Sunkens when there's an Archon in your face smashing through those drones with that Sonic Shockwave. It looks like Dewalt going to get a lot of damage done regardless of the timing of that static defense. He does catch all of the cRoSs, but he's going to elevator a DT into the main base, RZ.
Yeah, we got a DT going to the main. We're losing this 3rd base as well while we're going for this counterattack, and I don't think he's going to notice this DT in there. It's not something, yeah, with everything going on, no Overlord there to spot it. You're not looking at this.
Yeah, I mean, he is doing counter damage with the mutas. Does he actually notice? If he notices the DT and at least evacuates the drones, it's good. It's pretty good for him. But if he doesn't notice, he's in a lot of trouble. This is not enough damage with the mutas to make up for losing all these drones. 10 kills, possibly 12 on that DT total. He's going to be feeling good about the muta damage and then realize that his main base has lost all of its drones and kind of tilt his head, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, this 3rd base not even getting defended. It seemed like maybe he could have found a win condition here, honestly, if he recognized that. I mean, he's actually doing so much damage. It's really a shame this DT killed everything, right? Because even the Spire is going to go down to this DT. Because without that going down, I actually think...
Yeah, no, he's in a good spot.
Very heavily favored, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for 100%. If he just doesn't take damage to this DT, or at least just pulls the drones, he'd be okay. It's actually kind of funny because this like building layout of Dewalt makes it super hard for an Archon to help out here. Like the mutas can just dance around for days and avoid an Archon, so he's actually going to get a lot of damage done with these mutas, and it's really tough to get Dragoons back here to defend as well. This is going to be frustrating for Dewalt. I bet you he's happy that he got damage with that DT, because if that DT didn't get in there and do that much work, he actually might be GGing out right now.
Yeah, 100%. I think so. The supply actually got evened up, which was crazy because that DT killed every single drone there and the Spire, which losing the Spire, that was kind of like cRoSs's makeshift win condition, and it kind of got taken away from him.
Yeah, it's a shame, man, because I feel like this was a really easy game for him had he just not taken all that damage. But I think it's still playable for him.
Yeah, I was going to say it might actually still be playable, right? He's doing so much probe damage. Dewalt can't mine his main. He's only got a few units kind of trinkling out here, doing a 4 Zealot drop into the main here. He's still losing probes here. Is cRoSs doing it?
I think he's doing it because of how the SimCity layout is for Dewalt. Like, it took him forever to get that Archon back into his main base. Like, if his building placements was a little bit more thought out, I think this wouldn't be so much of a problem. He is getting more damage done with an elevator into the main. Some Zealots chipping away at the drone line. The mutas do catch the shuttle to deny that. He's flying over the Archon right now, takes a couple of volleys from that. But there's still nothing in the main base to defend. And because of the building layout, it's going to be super hard for Dewalt to defend this with just an Archon.
Yeah, Cannon gonna get denied. The mining gonna be denied here again. Gonna have to go back to his natural. Still can't mine his main. I mean, his natural's gonna end up mining out long before his main at this rate.
It's actually kind of insane. Like, I think cRoSs can actually win this game, despite like taking that much damage from a DT. I think purely based on the building placement of Dewalt alone, it's really helping him out, being an absolute nightmare for Dewalt. I actually saw a bit of emotion from him earlier, probably in frustration that he was taking that much damage and didn't have an answer for it.
Yeah, big run of drones. You know, cRoSs's eco is kind of back on track. One of the things that's going really well for him here, too, is he didn't lose any of those hatcheries, right? So he still has that larva production. which is a huge resource, especially in a situation like this. So he got his drone count back up to normal here on the third base. And Dewalt's going to be on kind of regrouping mode, and cRoSs is pretty much ready to go all in back on units now.
Yeah, this is actually looking better and better for cRoSs the longer this goes on. Dewalt has lost so many probes, man. It's crazy. Who knows, man? This game might actually tilt Dewalt, and this might actually have a big influence on how the rest of the series plays out as well. Like,
This is still a scary army.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe somehow Dewalt can't break the third. I think if he musters all of the Hydras from both locations and flanks this army, or at least kills the High Templar with the mutas, he can win this fight. He's going to try and dive on that High Templar now, forces out the Storm. That's exactly what he needs in this next trade. He has enough Hydras with the High Templar gone to overwhelm this, just barely.
Yeah, Dewalt getting pushed back here, so cRoSs, kind of stabilizing here. We have so few probes for Dewalt. He's not even making any more probes, right? He kind of feels like he just has to commit to getting some damage done. But like I said, cRoSs's on full macro mode now. He's already recovered. He passed the recovery stage. We're on fight mode. We have +2 attack on these Hydras as well. And he can just keep pumping units and fight here. I think he's done it, John. Oh my god.
He did eat a lot of damage to that Storm, though, Ozzy. That's the one thing that he needs to come back in this game. It's just 1 or 2 critical Storms. We finally have Lurkers on the way.
Nice.
Zealot not quite spotting it as well. That's a good boon for him to not know that those Lurkers are on the way. That's going to add a bit of surprise factor for cRoSs going forward. He's about to spot them now, maybe, if he sends his army northward. I mean, he's not now. He should see them with the vision range of his units, but it might be too late. They're about to hatch and start to get into good positions. And this is a predominantly Zealot-based army, so Dewalt's in a lot of trouble right now, even with that Observer. These Lurkers are going to trade pretty good.
Yeah, he gets the snipe on that Templar. Does eat a good bit of damage from this Templar here, but these Lurkers getting pretty good value against all these Zealots, and only 4 goons here are part of this fight. So once these Zealots go down, these goons going to be pretty much forfeit as well. Dewalt down 20 supply now, getting pushed back, and cRoSs might pivot to deny the 6 o'clock, and Dewalt is running out of steam here. There's really not much going for him. He finds his top right base, but cRoSs is going to be able to defend that as well, and yeah, it's looking great for cRoSs.
Yeah, this is a really insane game, man. He's even going to save that 4th base by sending a few Hydras up there. It does take a little bit of the wind out of the sails of this attack from cRoSs, having Hydras relegated to defense duty, but he's still got just barely enough to maybe get a denial on this Nexus, which is insane how few units are being utilized by both players right now. There is a DT coming into the 3rd base. Luckily, there's a couple of Hydras here, but he's going to maybe ignore the Hydras and just go for the snipe on the hatchery. He needs 2 more swipes on it. He's going to get the hatchery. It's absolutely insane. This game is wild, RC.
There's no Observer here either, by the way. We're going to kill it off with the Storms. Observer just now joining here, but Templar going to get sniped, and GG going to be called. cRoSs in a crazy, chaotic game here. Going to take his first game of the series.
Hey, that's not just a win for cRoSs. I genuinely think he rattled Dewalt with that game. That could really have a lot of implications for the rest of the series. I don't think it's going to be easy for cRoSs, but I think his chances of winning the series, not only because of the win on the board, but because he actually might stop Dewalt playing at his absolute apex now.
Yeah, we'll see how Dewalt pushes forward from here, but man, that was as bad as that was for cRoSs. He still got so much damage done, like he's pointed out multiple times. That SimCity, the Archon couldn't get back to defend, and it's already hard enough to defend with Archons against mutas, but when the SimCity is fighting against you, it gets so much worse.
He had to literally like run around a maze to get the Archon back there to defend. It was kind of insane. He definitely was tilted by his own building placement there. The Dragoons as well couldn't get into good positions. It was kind of nuts. But yeah, that's going to be a good confidence boost for cRoSs going forward now. Suddenly gives him a lot of hopes that this is a winnable series, and I'm sure he's feeling a lot of relief after winning such a chaotic game like that. It must be a confidence boost.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be, right? To win a game like this, and if you win a game where a lot of stuff still goes wrong for you, right, then that actually is like a huge confidence boost, I would think. Because there were a lot of things like he got in with the Lings and he definitely disrupted Dewalt a fair amount, but the Hydra push, from there he lost a ton of Hydras. He was losing so many overboards. The DT drop got inside, killed an entire drone line, and he still wins the game from here. I think this actually should do a lot for cRoSs's confidence.
I would say so. He barely did any damage with the Lings relative to how much he sustained with being supply blocked, bleeding that many Hydras, all of the drones going down to the DT. It's honestly quite exceptional that he managed to translate that into a win condition. I mean, he even lost the Spire to the DT, so it was like a do or die situation for him, and he was barely getting the job done with just a handful of units in the end there. So yeah, I take my hat off to cRoSs, man. He's fighting back strong in this series, and I hope for more great games from him.
Yeah, I'm hyped. That was exciting. It's funny because, you know, when I played Protoss before, there was never anything more infuriating than you just running around your base killing all your probes and you just can't get Corsair or anything up to kill them. But as the spectator, it was like super fun to watch, right? But
as a Zerg player, it's always fun when you get those opportunities, but it rarely does happen. You have to do a lot of higher Corsair snipes. But he did kill 2 Corsairs right away in the game with the Scourge, and then he killed another few Corsairs with Hydras after the fact, which opened up the game state for that kind of play to begin with. And yeah, I wonder if that's going to rattle Dewalt now, because I can't imagine he's got to be a little bit frustrated with how that game went. It'll be hard for him to play at absolutely 100% of his ability. He might be able to get back into that groove after this game or sometime during this game, but I feel like this is a really great opportunity for cRoSs to establish some tempo in the series.
Yeah, and this is going to be a really good map for it as well. Dominator, right? CVP, typically pretty heavily Zerg favored in this matchup. Now, from what I've seen, I've always felt like this is a really good map for high tech, which cRoSs doesn't tend to play ZVP, but it still can. I wonder if he'll maybe lean more into lurkers and less into mutas because of all the pizza slices, right?
Well, he could rush Hive for base and just get cracklings as well. Doesn't need to fight us, but let's see. We're jumping into it right now. Game number 4 on Dominator. Spawning here in the top left, 2-1 up in the series, representing Russia, Dewalt.
And his opponent here is spawning at the 3 o'clock position, showing us that he can thrive in the chaos. Our Canadian Zerg player, cRoSs.
And you saw Dewalt shifting around in his chair there a little bit. I don't think he's super rattled, but I think he's unsettled enough to give cRoSs a fighting chance in this series.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Dewalt, I say Dewalt. We're all pretty emotional when we play StarCraft anyway, let's be honest.
Of course.
If you're not emotional when you're playing StarCraft, then you're playing the wrong game.
Well, you're just a psychopath or something, right?
Yeah, so I think it would, be fair to say that he's probably a little bit uncomfortable after that loss. I'm sure of course he wants to just 4-0 and move on, right? But, we'll see if he can not let it get to him and keep pushing forward. He's been in this situation so many times, right?
Yeah.
He does so many tournament games. He drops games all the time, right, to other foreigners. So he's been in this situation enough that he does know how to push through it and not let it get to him or anything like that. But
yeah,
we do typically see when Dewalt has lost a game or two, he becomes visibly more mobile in his chair.
It starts to become more active, yeah. But he did lose in a pretty spectacular fashion, which might make the difference. But you're right in the sense he's not going to be feeling the same kind of pressure and nerves as some of these other guys. Like even Eon Zerg, apparently super uncomfortable and anxious while playing these games, just because he's not been playing a lot of tournaments. Whereas Dewalt probably plays more than everyone, right? So he's going to be feeling more at ease in terms of his mental game. I think the only thing that really does come into question is his how he feels about his gameplay, right? Like he's more likely to get frustrated at himself more than any anxiety or nerves that he's feeling from playing in a tournament.
Yeah. I've noticed too, another thing that high level Zerg players do as opposed to lower level, is that whenever the probe shows up, they just don't play that game. They just go straight to their third and take that instead.
It's been the meta right now. Yeah, like all the pros are pretty much doing that as well. It's like, I'm going to avoid the shenanigans, have fun blocking my natural. I'm just taking this third. I'm calling it a day. Yeah. And it's actually not a bad idea. There's even maps like Screaming Sea where you can turn it into a cheese because you have a quicker rally point. You can do like a 2-base layer tech into lurker, and you've got a faster rally with the Hydras. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why this is totally fine. In this situation, that's not going to come into play. Like, cRoSs's not the kind of guy to go for like a 2-hatch lurker or anything. It's just going to be a standard play. But it is a really good way of circumnavigating harassment that Protoss players have gotten so good at just shutting down the timings. And you don't want to make a delayed expansion by having to run the drone all the way to the third when you've already got the minerals to make it. You want to just get that hatchery down and get your lava going as soon as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, so going to be kind of a normal opener here for both players. We'll see if cRoSs wants to go into that typical Scourge opener, if he wants to go into mutas, things like that. Maybe some sort of Hydro Pressure. I wasn't paying attention to the layer timing, but yeah, I mean, he's been showing us a pretty decent variety, right? A few different looks here with the layer tech, whether it be Hydro Lurker or, you know, some Scourge openers, mutas, whatever he likes to do, right? So there's definitely a few things. Even though he doesn't play Hive Tech or anything like super crazy all-in-ish, he still gives Dewalt a lot of different things to look at.
Yeah, I think that's one of cRoSs's biggest strengths. He's not necessarily the most masterful Zerg you've ever seen, but he's pretty good at doing a wide variety of things, and that's going to keep Dewalt guessing pretty much the entire series. And it is going to be a 973. It's a slightly delayed den, but it's fast enough to still be a very potent 973. We'll see if he wants to do a full-on commit or if it's just going to be a wall sniping build. I imagine it's going to be the latter. I think this is going to be more of a fake into a standard play, but we'll see.
Yeah, we don't see much full committal nowadays anymore, honestly. Protoss is just... They've been dealing with it for so long that they've gotten just really, really good at handling it now, right? So a lot of Zerg players kind of backed off of like the full commit 973.
Yeah. Yeah, I doubt we'll be seeing that. I guess it can work if you hide it well and you catch them off guard, but especially with the Corsair confirming, and Protoss players even do that thing where if they do not get any scouting, they'll make the cannon then cancel it when they see that there's no Hydras on the way or whatever. So they're really good at hedging their bets against the Hydra timings, and they've gotten better at dealing with it over the years and out of necessity, right? Like the biggest win percentage for Zerg is at that 973 timing, and then a little bit less for the pre-storm timing. But that's the two biggest points of strength for the Zerg in this matchup. The win percentage is so huge there. So if you're not safe against that, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of Protoss players is just kind of optimize surviving that stage of the game and getting into their death ball essentially in the mid game. But here we go. We have a few Hydras moving across the map now. So at the very least, he's going to test the wall. The cannon is a bit far back forward as well, right? So he is going to lose the Forge and Gateway at least. And we'll see if cRoSs wants to continue pumping units from there, or if he wants to just drone after doing the wall killing.
Yeah, he's got the Overlord chilling out there to kind of represent that he wants to commit into this. Usually you'll have the Overlord hanging out with the Hydra Burst if you're doing a full-on committal, but this could just be to fake to Dewalt to make him throw down more cannons than he would like to make. Corsair going into the main base and actually trying to kill an Overlord. If he kills that Overlord, it'd be hard for him to make either drones or Hydras from this position, and he gets to keep an eye on what's coming out of the eggs in the main base as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to kill that Overlord and get a slight supply block here on cRoSs, and
What's a lot of
we're
Hydras,
going to pull
man.
yeah, it's a decent bit of Hydras. We're going to pull some probes here, and cRoSs are going to commit into it, actually go on top of these cannons, but with the probes here, the Zealots, and this many cannons, it's going to be just a bit of a loss here from cRoSs. Only going to get, I think, one probe only for his troubles there with all of them.
It's a shame. I feel like it would have been better to like fake the move in, then quickly shuffle back and target probes. Might have been a better play in that situation. So I feel like he's trying to do too much right now, and it's actually making it a bit easier for Dewalt to navigate this. And because he was supply blocked, he's not going to have as much steam to run it down with those Hydras. He's going to have to transition into a macro game now.
Yeah. cRoSs making a bunch, or sorry, Dewalt making a bunch of extra cannons because he was still seeing more Hydras being made, but it is now the droning stage here for cRoSs. We'll see if Dewalt, he wants to cancel. Okay, he canceled those cannons. That's good for him. And yeah, we just continue from here now.
Yeah, this will be a relatively normal game. I would say Dewalt technically ahead ever so slightly. He will be delayed though, like having to remake the Forge in the main and what have you. He's lost a little bit of his production by losing the Gateway in the wall. Overall, he will be fine, but it does slow Dewalt's timings down. His move out timings will be delayed, maybe enough to set up a contain. It'll be a soft contain though against the Zealot Templar, but you always want to meet the Zealot Templar out in the field rather than letting them get across the map to you first. You kind of want to like keep baiting out storms and shuffling back across the map.
Yeah, cRoSs actually committing into more units again. Kind of an odd timing for it, actually. Bit of a low... Ooh, big storm here on the Hydras. 4 of the Hydras going to go down, decent damage being done. I'm wondering if he was maybe thinking of doing maybe like a lurker contain, but it's going to be too late for something like that.
Yeah, it's got to be a soft contain only. It will take far too long to get the lurkers up here. Maybe he can translate the soft contain into a hard contain, but it's a long time coming.
This Corsair is just... The amount of information that it's been gathering throughout this game is insane.
Yeah, Corsair's a pretty good unit, it turns out, Ozzy. Not only does it kill Overlords, Scourge, and Mutas, but also gives you map hack, essentially.
Yeah, it's so important to pay attention to this and keep it alive, right? Like, it's gotten a little bit low on HP, but the thing is, guys, like, Dewalt, he knows exactly how many cannons to make, he knows when to cancel the cannons, he knows how to react to everything because of this Corsair giving him that constant information, right? And the thing about PvZ is, it's such an information war for the Protoss player. If they know what's happening, then they're almost always going to be favored, right? But the hard part is getting all that information.
Yes, that's very astute. Couldn't say it better myself. And he's actually going for a DT drop in the main base, Ozzy. There is not an... Okay, there is an Overlord in the main base. It just popped out. But not that many Hydras ready to responses. I think he's got like 2 or 3 Hydras in the natural or something. Okay, he's got 5. He might be able to quickly get in there and defend it, but the Overlord is on rally point, so it's flying away from the drone line. Makes it even harder to notice that the DTs are killing your drones because you don't see the red dot on your mini-map, and he's distracting him. Really great play here from Dewalt to distract him, focusing on possibly being stormed while he's... Oh, yes, you noticed as he pulls the drones. That's huge for cRoSs.
Yeah, pretty good, actually, from cRoSs to pick up on that while fighting the Zealots at the same time.
Yeah.
But again, kind of a testament to how fast cRoSs is, but he's having a hard time watching his army here, so going to walk into the cannons, lose a couple more Hydras. DT tucked in the top right of the base. Pretty annoying for you as a Zerg player, right? Because you're going to have to try and chase it down. Going to come in here, kill one more drone, run down here. Just kind of giving a bit of a runaround here for cRoSs.
Look at these Overlords.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's so much damage. 13 kills on that Templar. That's not pure drones, but that's a lot of value, man. Oh, he does kill the shuttle on the exit. Bit of compensation for him. But yeah, pretty painful. I mean, I thought cRoSs was in a fantastic position leading up to that, but as soon as that storm landed on those drones, does kind of give Dewalt a pretty sizable edge for the time being.
Yeah, hit him with that Kansas City shuffle. For those of you that have seen Lucky Number 11, right?
Yeah. Man, this is Dewalt gonna just run it down on 2 bases? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of getting the feeling that Dewalt might just go for one of those, you know, power gamer moves where he just makes a lot of stuff on 2 bases and maybe takes a 3rd as an insurance policy. But oh my gosh, those idle drones! I don't think he'll notice them for ages.
Yeah, I think you're right. And 4 drones is actually a lot, especially considering we just lost a ton of drones, right? So, yeah, kind of hurts. I mean, cRoSs, he's got a decent-sized army, but I'm just really concerned about the composition that Dewalt has that is getting put together. He's going to be working towards his 3rd base as well, and I don't think there's any way for cRoSs to really contest this or deny this. The Templar count getting super high, and yeah, I mean, cRoSs, he was stuck in recovery mode, right? And every time we see those drones on the right, it's going to bug me now.
I mean, if he had a quick 4th base, I would say this is a lot more okay for cRoSs. But the fact that he's on Lair Tech 3 base at 12 minutes, he's just now starting to send a drone over for that 4th base at the 6 o'clock. But it's a little bit lagging behind schedule, I would say. Like, the fact that Dewalt won't even feel pressured to attack and he's just going to sit back and take a 3rd, you even more want to have that 4th base ahead of schedule, and he's still not making that hatchery. Yeah,
that's not a good look, right? Maybe cRoSs doesn't realize that he had this 3rd base up here, but he's going to get the bad news now that he's up here in position to defend this. And yeah, we're going to be starting our 4th when the 3rd's already done for Dewalt. That's not good.
No, it's not going to feel good for him. Like, if he was rushing Hive, that'd be totally different. But the fact that he's not, it creates a lot of problems for the Zerg now. it's going to be really tough for him to stay relevant in this game. He's going to have a lot of units. It seems like he's actually making a round of mutas. Maybe going to go for a high temple. It's a very weird timing to go for mutas, but maybe it'll catch Dewalt off guard. Especially because he's, you know, seen lurkers. Maybe this will be the last thing that Dewalt is expecting, and he gets caught with his pants down. Dragoons are actually not that great at escorting high templars. You can just ignore the Dragoons and go for the snipes.
Yeah, we actually didn't make our safety Dark Archon this time, right? So he's going to see those mutas, and you have to be a little bit worried now with your Templar. This is kind of a big commitment from cRoSs at this point. This is kind of a, I need to catch him and make something happen, because he's not taking that fourth yet, so he's looking to just snipe a bunch of Templar, I think, and take a huge fight and try to win from there.
This is kind of wild. He's actually going to run all the way to the main base. There's 3 cannons here as well to defend. They're pretty spread apart, but was maybe hoping to catch some high templars out of the gateways as well. He's yet again not getting enough value out of these mutas to warrant the commitment. He needs to do something major with them soon, or he's going to find himself in a world of hurt. He's actually supply blocked for just a moment there until a bunch of overlords now just popped. But yeah, already Dewalt is on his doorstep, and he hasn't sniped a single high templar with these mutas.
Yeah, and Dewalt doesn't even have to do anything here yet, right? Like, there is no fourth base for cRoSs, there is no hard tech, so the longer this goes on, the better it's typically going to get for Dewalt.
Absolutely, yeah. This is kind of just a sit and wait kind of game. Dewalt could even just take his mineral only behind this and call it a day. He doesn't have to do anything. cRoSs's just now looking at the drone to make the hatchery at the 6 o'clock. He actually didn't get made. I think he blocked it. Like, he went to make the hatchery and spent some money and didn't have enough minerals for the hatchery to actually get built. So the drone actually doesn't make a hatchery. Didn't make.
Hatchery didn't make. Thought only Terran had that problem. I don't understand.
He just now corrected that. He still has those 4 drones. I told you he wouldn't notice forever.
Yeah. I think we made a couple extra mutas to try and make something happen. We did actually make some Corsair for Dewalt. I haven't seen that actually very often. Just remaking the Corsair this late in the game. Usually you would just see the Dark Archon still in response.
Yeah.
But
I guess it takes a while for the energy to pull, right? We've got like a minute waiting time until the Maelstrom would be online, so maybe just making a few Corsairs feels better, tempo-wise anyway.
Yeah, he's really committing to these mutas. He just really needs to snipe these Templar, right? That's pretty much all he's looking for at this stage. Is maybe he can get some miracle snipes or get some miracle harass or something to go for him, but it's just not. He's just not finding anything.
Yeah, he's picked off the Corsairs, which is something, but already taking a little bit of bruise damage on those mutas from a storm. He's trying to dive in while Dewalt isn't looking. Does catch one of those high templars on the periphery. That's something, but it's already feeling a little bit lackluster. If he's coming in again, actually going to get another high templar. Not super terrible, but again, it's not enough to warrant the muta investment. This is like the bare minimum right now. He needs like 1 more high templar snipe to make this a bit more worthwhile. Okay, that's not too terrible. It's a shame he didn't get that other Templar killed, but at least now there's not a lot of storm for Dewalt to attack him. But because his hive is so late, because his wolf is so late, it might not matter still. Yeah,
you know what Dewalt's really good at? He's really good at storming on his Templar in a way where he doesn't kill his own Templar.
Yeah,
he's done that consistently. I don't see that very often.
I guess it's a useful skill to have in PvZ. More Protoss players should learn from that. That's some pretty good storms on those packs of Hydras as well. It's not a bad concave setup, but Dewalt's actually going to back away from that. He doesn't need to fully commit to an attack anyway. He just wants to cycle out storm energy. Look how clumped up those Hydras are on the left. Ooh. Luckily, cRoSs quickly splitting them out. And interestingly enough, Dewalt is pulling back from this. I don't necessarily feel like he has to pull back from this, but it's giving a moment for cRoSs to not only kill units that are trying to get away, but he's actually got a counter-attack at the rally point of Dewalt right now.
Yeah, game's getting a little bit chaotic. Dewalt, his supply is like barely moving though. That's the crazy thing. Like, a lot of units didn't even die there for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's still in a really good position, right? He killed a lot of the Hydras. Not many Lurkers bled off, at least. These Hydras did get in between, like you said, the rallies there, so they got to catch maybe a few units. But, I mean, Dewalt's on 4 bases mining. He's mining more healthily than the Zerg player, right?
Yeah, he's got nothing at the 4th base, has cRoSs. This is worrisome. Like, Dewalt is trading okay, and he's ahead on economy. This is not a tenable game state for cRoSs at all. He's going to have to find some monstrously good trades. This could work, though, getting the wraparound with the Lurkers from the left, trying to gobble up this army and then go for killing one of the expansions of Dewalt could be the winning ticket in this game, but he's barely not got enough units to completely crush the army of Dewalt. He's trading okay, but it probably isn't good enough to go the distance here. He's going to eventually get cleaned up.
Yeah, Dewalt did a really good job of retreating to the high ground, right, to really mitigate a lot of the DPS these Hydras can put out. So even without really any storms there, he's able to take this fight. And his upgrade's also looking pretty good, right? We're 3-2 here on his ground army. And there's our Dark Archon that eventually found its way out here on the map.
Yeah, he's even got like 5 idle Hydras to the right of that army that have been forgotten about, which is a shame. And even now, at this point in the game, Dewalt being active with that Corsair and being super annoying, chipping away at some of the Overlords. And yeah, I mean, just distracting cRoSs for a few seconds is huge. It takes him out of his ebb and flow. He's still not saturated this 4th base, RZ. I think he's just about now getting some drones finally transferred over to it, but a 4th base at almost 19 minutes when the Protoss has already been mining on their 4th for so long doesn't feel good. He's even getting a couple of the drone kills with the Zealots, man.
Yeah, and those 2 Zealots actually pulled across his whole army down there, so he gets to step onto the high ground here. There's no storm here with the army right now. Okay, now it's joining up, but he's on the high ground here with a really big force, and Samita's going to jump in here and maybe try to target down some Templar, but nothing going to go down. Going to get their storms off here, and yeah, I think cRoSs is pretty much done.
Yeah, it's a shame. Like, there was definitely a way of winning this game. He just fell too far behind the curve. That storm drop hurt him so much, man.
Yeah.
Now he's 3 games down to 1. Dewalt on match point from this point onwards. You got a reverse sweep to win from here. Somehow, can you imagine like having the mindset of it's okay, I can win 3 games in a row against Dewalt? I don't think many people are going to think that, right?
Yeah, not very many people. Or anybody, for that matter, outside of Korea.
Yeah, maybe if this was like Soma or something, we could be like, yeah, no worries, Soma's going to easily get those 3 games in a row. But
yeah,
a bit of a tall order for cRoSs. I think he can do it, but it's very unlikely.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of those. We do like little matches like that in our Discord sometimes where we'll put Primal up against somebody or something and be like, all right, so you have to win 5 games in a row before Primal beats you once or he wins $15. It's kind of like that.
What kind of players is he playing against?
Just us low A-rank Terrans.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. It is quite common that like if the guy is like a solid rank above you, you win about 20-ish% of games. If they're 2 ranks above you, you win like 10% of games. So yeah, I think that's relatively fair.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, cRoSs having to beat Dewalt 3 times in a row, that is a tall order to say the least. I mean, I've liked his games though, to be honest with you. Like he is losing a lot of these games, but I've actually really enjoyed the way he's playing them.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty good Zerg all around. I just think he struggles against Protoss. Like he's way better at ZVZ and ZVT. He does have moments of greatness in ZVP, but it's like there's like a puzzle piece missing or something. I don't know what it is, but maybe he can turn it around now. We've got game number 5 coming up now. Knockout. Let's get it, guys. Spawning in the top left on match point. Just needs 1 more win on the board. The Russian player, Dewalt.
And his opponent spawning here in the bottom left corner, needing to win 3 games in a row to win this series. We have our blue Zerg cRoSs.
Oof. I would not like to be in cRoSs' shoes right now, but this will be one of the greatest comebacks of BSL history if he can pull it off, and we'll be celebrating him.
Yeah, well, he won a game, so it can be done. That's what I always tell myself when I'm in a series against someone that I know is way better than me.
Yeah.
But I look at it historically and I'm like, I did beat him like 3 months ago, so technically I can win here.
Yeah, it's not a bad mindset to have. It's doable. I guess you could say it was a very chaotic game, which is one of the things that frustrated Dewalt. I mean, you as a Terran player, I'm sure can relate. If a player takes you out of your comfort zone, like pulls you off of the railroad tracks, so to speak, when you're off-roading through the jungle, it's a lot harder to hit your timings and macro cycles and find your place in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. As a Terran player, I'm out of my comfort zone when I load into the game, so I definitely know what it feels like.
Just got to take a machete into that jungle and hope for the best.
All right, a mix-up here from Dewalt. We're getting our first gate expand here from Dewalt.
Yeah. Mixing it up. I guess he's on match point. You know, he's got 2 games he can throw down the drain and still be okay. Maybe not a bad idea to mix it up a little bit and practice this style in a tournament setting. And making sure that you can't get metagame. Go on.
I think, other than the first game, hasn't cRoSs been first scouted every game? This has to be like really annoying.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened, man. I've played series like that where you play like loads of practice games in a row, and every single time they scout you first. Eventually, you just start going, "Come on!" as Zerg. Like, it gets under your skin after enough times.
Yeah, he is at least going to be allowed to take his natural this time, so that's nice.
Yeah, well, he did the smart thing of hiding the second overlord, right? So then Dewalt isn't sure if this is a 9 pool or not.
Yeah,
and then
you have to go pick the pool,
the ramp with the probe a little bit, and so this is why you always want to hide the second overlord to have a higher chance at throwing that down.
A little bit of a dance here going on between the 2 workers here. We got 4 lings, 6 lings actually coming out for cRoSs. He did see that it is going to be that gate expand, and I'm curious to see. So I was talking about this. I kind of mentioned it a little bit.
Go on.
Oh my god, that block.
That was rough.
That's pretty bad. Yeah, we get 1 ling kill for free and decent damage on another ling as well. Gonna jump on top of this. Gonna kill that probe, but the zealot doing work. It wins this fight.
That's crazy. Like, in an ideal world, you should be killing that probe and the zealot, and he's failed to kill the zealot and has like hardly any lings, and 2 of them are not full HP. It doesn't feel good, man. We've all been there, but this is not a great start for cRoSs. What were you going to say just a moment ago?
So what I was going to say is one of the reasons I hated playing gate expand against cRoSs, and when I watch him play against other Protoss players, is if you ever play gate expand, he's guaranteed to get lings in your base, and he's so good at it, right? So I was really excited to see that happen, but Dewalt just microed, like he just microed better than cRoSs here. He just got a huge lead.
Yeah. You might catch this zealot outside here, but needs to also keep track of the zealots behind his mineral line. One of them is pretty softened up, but it is super tricky to get your lings lined up in such a way that you can get the 2-on-1 trade against the zealot when it's behind the mineral line like that.
Yeah. Gonna try and poke at her, but cRoSs is gonna be on top of it. But this is kind of nice for Dewalt, right? Like he's been trading so well at this point, he doesn't have to worry about things going across the map.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be able to set up pretty healthily on the other side, or comfortably, I should say. Whereas we got these 2 zealots that are gonna be pretty much in the back of cRoSs's mind the whole time they're down here.
I remember trying to explain to Saiyan how to get the lings to align better behind the minerals, and I spent like 10 minutes trying to explain it, and he was getting really frustrated, unable to do it. And I just had to show him with screen share, because it's something that it's so hard to actually explain with words.
Yeah, cRoSs played a little bit of a mind game actually and kind of baited his zealots out here, but one's going to get into the main and force a drone pull here. He's going to lose the zealot without losing a drone, but a little bit of lost mining time, but 2 more zealots going to join, and we don't have enough lings here, and they're going to be able to join the zealot on the back side here. This is not going well for cRoSs, guys.
To say the least. Yeah, he's not even mining in his natural at this point. Like, things are not going well. One of the zealots is super low, but he's having a hard time mustering enough lings. Like, you only really want to make 12 lings, and he's probably made like 18 or 20 at least total this game. It's kind of insane how much damage these zealots are doing without really having to fully commit. Just by existing in the Zerg's face, they've done so much.
Yeah, and now he has to worry about this other zealot that he saw going across the map there to look for his 3rd, so Fewling's gonna have to go back and search that one out. We do have Spire on the way, but cRoSs's ego is just completely in the gutter, right? Like, typically by this point you've stabilized against the zealots, you could draw him properly, but he's just never been allowed to do it this game.
I mean, you're already behind in the drone count going for the fast 12 lings, so the fact that you have to keep making lings after that, you're so far behind the metric of the game. And these lings aren't going to arrive in time. Like, he's actually going to stop these drones from mining. That's insane.
Yeah, pretty insane. Link speed does finish, so they're going to be able to get here to defend, at least, but I don't know. We'll see if maybe these mutas can get some magic done, but there's only one gas mining, right? So you can't really make many mutas with it. Might even just be scared at this point.
The problem is that even if say, like, Sulky's really good at playing from behind, but you can already tell that cRoSs is rattled by this. Like, he's not in his comfort zone. He's having a hard time stabilizing from this position. So even though it's possible to make this playable, he's not quite finding his groove while doing it. Pretty good drill on the Zealots with the drones, but not good enough. He actually needed to repeat the drill process to glitch them out a second time. So they actually killed like 2 more drones there in the natural because he didn't do a follow-up drill after the first one. He's taking so much damage from these Zealots, man.
Yeah, the pressure from Dewalt Zealots have been relentless. It's going to win this fight, too. Oh my god. This is like nothing really quite going right for cRoSs. And it's double Stargate behind us, too, against the Spire. No Hydrodon. It's a nightmare for cRoSs.
Yeah, I usually don't like seeing double Stargate play, but in this situation where they're so far behind and they're reliant on the Spire tech, it's actually probably going to be really good. A little bit worried for cRoSs here, man. Like, he's just now at 7 minutes 30 throwing down his macro hatcheries. Hydrodon is a long way off, and as long as he does a good job of establishing air superiority, he's gonna have nothing to defend these overlords, man.
Yeah, this is a bit rough. I kind of echo that sentiment of yours, where I typically don't like double Stargate. I feel like I see it work like 1 time out of 20 probably, but in this situation where you've done so much damage, like you said, the Spire was pretty late. There's definitely no Hydras on the horizon here. I think this could actually just be a nail in the coffin at this point when all these Corsairs show up. Yeah,
you just can't defend them. Like, the only thing you can make is Scourge, and they've already got enough to one-shot the Scourge. Like, as soon as you get supply blocked, the game is effectively over.
Yep. Oof. 2 Overlords gonna go down immediately. And I'm going to continue hunting here for more Overlords. And we just don't have anything to do with them. We're going to we'll probably make a bunch of Scourge and hope to get some connections. But it's...
Yeah, I don't see that working, unfortunately. Luckily, he's got some of the Overlords kind of hiding out on the map. Does get 1 connection with a Scourge, but not good enough. And he's going to make a Spore. I mean, Spores are something. It at least makes you safe against DT. It doesn't actually do a lot to stop the 2 Stargate pressure. They can just kill Overlords over the top of that Spore happily with this many Corsairs.
Yeah, Corsair, unfortunately, don't care about your Spores. They just kind of accept the back rub while they're killing your Overlords.
Yeah, this is super rough for cRoSs, man. I don't think, as a caster, I should be calling the game earlier, but I really don't see him win this game. Let's see if he can get a good surround with the Scourge. Okay, he kills a few Corsairs there. That wasn't terrible. That's a step in the right direction, let's say, but he's still supply blocked. This is still going to be a rough game ahead of him. He's got Zealots moving in. He needs to body block these Zealots. There is enough here to kill these 2 Sunkens. The SimCity's okay, but the Zealots bleed for a little bit. The drilling is not quite good enough. The bottom Sunken definitely going to go down. And without really good drilling, the other one is going to fall too.
Yeah. As the less professional caster, I'm going to go ahead and say this game is over.
Go for it.
I mean, cRoSs is going to survive this, right? But he's going to lose a lot of drones. He lost all of his static. He's making Lings right now only, right? There's not even a Hydrodon that's been made, I don't think, at this point. He's trying to play like kind of a turtle style, which I think is a kind of a good idea to try and force a comeback, right? Because he took the bottom right corner as well. So he wanted to go for a bunch of static and play this like really turtley game and try to drag it out. I think it's smart, but I don't think it's going to be a good enough.
Yeah, no, it was the right decision. There's not really much else he can do. It's just that Dewalt's too good to let that happen. He's going to run it down with the Corsairs now as a follow-up after killing the Spore. All these Overlords are going to die, and cRoSs's not going to be able to make anything yet again. It's a shame. And you're right. The turtle play on 4 base is definitely the viable choice here from cRoSs. He's slowly grinding this out, but he needs, to block his SimCity better to stop the Zealots from just running over him like this for it to work.
Yeah, and these are 1-1 Lings against, or sorry, 1-1 Zealots against 0-0 Lings, so the Zealots just fight so well against them, even in these small numbers. cRoSs, like I said, he's alive. He's at 39 supply block. We have Archons out now, right? Against Scourge, Ling, and yeah, GG, well played. Gonna be called from cRoSs. Dewalt gonna take the series 4-1. Yeah, pretty nice. Pretty well played by Dewalt.
Dewalt now through to the grand finals yet again. Not surprised by that at all. He's a regular contender as a finalist, and that means cRoSs will be dropping down to that loser bracket final match to play a best of 7 ZVZ with Eon Zerg. Eon Zerg's nightmare, by the way. He really didn't want to have to do that today, but it is going to come to pass. Maybe he can think of it as I get to play a best of 7 instead of a best of 9 ZVZ. It's not the end of the world, right? But yeah, and that's going to be super interesting between these two, because cRoSs did 3-0 Eon Zerg in the semis in the winner bracket. I wonder if we'll get a repeat of that action where it's a bit one-sided. I don't necessarily think so. I imagine this series is going to be a lot closer than that original 3-0.
Yeah, I can only imagine so, right? I mean, cRoSs definitely had his number last time, and it's hard to imagine that he ends up going 7-0 in a row against Eon Zerg, right? Like, yeah. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I suspect kind of the same as you that Eon Zerg, I imagine, will be able to put up a bit more of a fight this series than last time.
Yeah. I mean, I still think that cRoSs is a slight favorite. He's a little bit more comfortable in ZVZ than Eon Zerg. But Eon Zerg is super strong. He's just a little bit rusty in the tournament setting. He hasn't been playing a lot recently. He's just come back to the scene, so to speak. And both of them have had a lot of ZVZ experience lately. Eon Zerg a lot more than cRoSs. I imagine that Eon Zerg is kind of just like head in his hands right now, like, oh, please let me play something other than Zerg versus Zerg, man. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, he got to that win over Bonif, which is probably like such a feel-good moment. And from that point onwards, when there was only 8 players, nothing but ZVZ.
Yeah. I imagine a lot of these Zerg players are kind of sick of it, to be honest with you, in this bracket.
Switch race.
I mean, yeah, like after Bonif went down with Tech there, right? Like Bonif takes out Tech and then Bonif loses to Zeke, even it's like, all right, well, the loser bracket is ZVZ fest.
This is just a testament to how hard Terran is, I guess. We just don't have any Terrans in this later stage of the BSL. Where are the Terrans? Wolfix, you need to start playing more, man. You guys need to put in some work. You know, where's Tarson? Where's Terra tearing it up? You know, you need some more of these guys. Gypsy, like, you know, sort it out, man. Come back to the scene. You know, we need this.
Yeah, well, I think what happened to those players is we had games where they weren't playing TVT, so it's just kind of guaranteed that a Terran player gets knocked out when that happens.
Yeah, maybe. It does seem like the hardest race if you buy into the propaganda, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of things to say about it. I don't necessarily think it's the hardest race per se. Maybe one day I'll give my spiel on the channel here.
What do you have to say about it? Well, we've got a little bit of time here. You talk about what do you think about that?
All right, so here's my take on it. All right, so a lot of Terran players they like to whine and cry. Okay, as someone that's been I've managed to hit A rank with all 3 races. I feel like I have a little bit to say.
Go on.
About it. So I think Terran is the hardest to execute, but the strongest when executed well. Okay.
I think that's fair to say.
Protoss is at a certain level really easy to execute, like at our foreign scene, right? Like here in like A rank, like low A, high A, even low S, things like that. B rank, for instance. I think Protoss execution is actually quite simple, specifically PvT. However, when you get to the higher levels, Protoss execution is extremely difficult, and I think that happens for 2 reasons. One being that they haven't had to execute like at a really high level up to that point, and the other being that it's not even fully figured out, especially here in the foreign scene, like how you're supposed to play against really high level Zergs and Protosses and Terrans.
You're making me feel like Morpheus right now, just nodding and smiling as you're beginning to believe it. You're hitting the nail on the head so hard with those statements coming from the mouth of a Terran player himself. No propaganda here. I appreciate those astute observations, and the fact that I don't have to say it myself makes a nice change from pace. I like it, man. I appreciate that you're on board.
Yeah. I don't have much to say about Zerg players, though.
The less said about them, the better. There's too many Zergs.